Good evening, I'm Jackson Pride, and all of these folks here are watching the stars of American Pro Wrestling in Boiling Springs, South Carolina, and you are watching that Way Cool Wrestling Show!
Hey, welcome to that Way Cool Wrestling Show. My name is Danny J, along with Charles, Gemini, Gregory, LeGrande, Onslaught, Jackson, and Mad Mark Lindsay. We got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about managers. That's right. It's that guy that led everybody out there. It was the one that had their groups. It was the guy that you really wanted to see get pummeled, and generally never did. There were so many different managers that were out there back in the day. It's something that's actually going away somewhat nowadays, and I personally wish it would come back. Mark, you know, if you could, what were some of the managers that you grew up watching and really liked?
I mean, you had to start and almost end with Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yes.
Talking about the perfect mouthpiece for a bunch of guys who, I mean, Rick Rude, Haku, Andre the Giant. Now, okay, Rick Rude could talk, but, you know, Haku and Andre, you know, those guys weren't really known for their promo or their mic skills.
Right.
You had this mouthpiece. And Andre was almost 8 feet tall anyway.
Yeah.
But you had this guy that could really communicate to the audience what we're going to do to you. We're going to take that title. We're going to do this. We're going to hurt you. And it wasn't coming from the guy being quiet. It was coming from this little guy who's probably no taller than you, Dan, saying, "My guy's going to hurt you, and look out." And that was just great. And I'll take another step. One of my favorites, of course, my favorite tag team, the Midnight Express, was Jim Cornette. You know, here's a guy that
Fantastic on the mic.
Right, great on the mic, and
Mark,
yes.
Let's not talk about height things, because you know he's sitting on a phone book right now, right? I'm just doing the.
I'm pulling a Tony Schiavone, everybody.
See, he's my height. Look at the previous
No.
He's on the phone
Let's get this real. Let's get this real for 1 second. Nah, screw this. Hold up. Let me close this
Y'all
up.
started it, no.
No, shut up. Because here's what's happening. We are on this set, right? There were 2 good chairs. These 2 asses are in booster seats, all right? They're both like 6'2", 6'3", so they get the high chairs, because now they want to be the skyscrapers. Oh, we're the tallest men alive. You got us sitting in a damn ditch, so you can look like you're 8 feet tall? Nah, not gonna happen. You know what? You want to bring that up? We can go all day.
And back to the show since he's mad.
See, now you got LeGrande upset. Jim Cornette was a great manager.
Yes, he was.
I gotta get my composure. He actually was one of the best in the NWA. He definitely was. The thing about the managers were that, once again, you had guys. I'm going to go back even further. You got guys like the Missing Link, who we're going to talk about him in another show. One of the, I think, ahead of his time. But his gimmick was he couldn't talk. You know, so you needed somebody to own or manage or run this persona. You know, I'm using this guy as a tool to gain what I want. You know, and you really, you hated the wrestler, the heel wrestler, but you hated the manager more. And that's what really made that work and gel when you had somebody that can do that, to say, well, yeah, I really love watching Rick Rude, but I really want to see Bobby Heenan get it. You know, or...
And he got it. He would get his neck...
Or how about Jim Cornette?
Falling up the scaffold.
Jim Cornette falling off the scaffold. Or getting beat up by Baby Doll.
Wait a minute, Jim Cornette falling off the scaffold, I give him a lot of credit for that, because he destroyed his knees doing that.
Yeah.
And you know what?
85 miles an hour.
I don't know too many guys that would have went that far.
Yeah.
And he wasn't in ring, he wasn't that guy. But he had a dedication to what he did.
And you know the difference was, too? Cornette was a manager, whereas Bobby Heenan, if you really go back, Bobby Heenan was a wrestler. You know,
Well, so was Paul Ellering.
And Paul Ellering, here's the thing about Paul Ellering, because he was really great with the Road Warriors, but Paul could fall in and out
Of that role.
anytime he wanted to, because they really did not need, I think in the beginning they did, you know, going into AWA.
See, I think...
To introduce them?
I'm not going to agree with that, because Hawk and Animal talking. Animal was never a talker. Paul could talk a little bit and it kind of sounded stupid to me. I love the Road Warriors.
Right.
Remember, I was a tag team man. Everybody wanted to be the Road Warriors. Paul Ellering added that thing for them.
Yeah.
They might say one or two words, but he did the build up. I mean, look at Brock Lesnar right now. We know Brock can't talk.
No.
There's no, Paul Heyman is making him just the guy. Heyman's that throwback right now
Yeah.
to that era that we're talking about.
Which and Heyman himself was good as Paulie Dangerous.
But that right now, he is that throwback to what we're talking about. You know, that old manager. There's a lot of guys like a previous show I was busting Ryback's balls. If he had a good manager, you might be able to do something with him. You really might.
Well,
be
he
able to.
had Paul at one point, did he not?
Yeah,
For like a hot minute.
yeah, it really didn't take off the way it should have.
I think.
Yeah, but would you want
yeah.
Ryback or would you want Brock Lesnar? Paul knew where he was going.
Well, you also had Curtis Axel, you know.
And even he couldn't put Curtis Axel over. He
Yeah.
tried.
And well, and once again, it's for another show, but I think that has to do with and we go back to gimmicks,
Yeah.
a few episodes ago, what you're trying to put over on that guy. Curtis Axel's problem is that he's reality. He's not his father, in
Yeah.
a sense. So, you know, have a legacy like to have Mr. Perfect as your father, yeah, that's a lot of shoes to
But
step
you-
into.
yeah,
But
you want it, though.
but for me, I would say you need to be you, because you're not going to be Mr. Perfect, okay? And maybe if technically you move like him, you could potentially go that route. But if you don't, and I think a lot of people agree that he's not the same technical aspect of Kurt Hennig, that, you know, make yourself your own, you know, and it goes back to what we said before, make yourself believable. Don't be something that you're not, okay? And that's what happens with him, and that's why a manager, more necessarily, well, maybe not necessarily a manager wouldn't work for him, but maybe put him in something with somebody else, maybe put him in a tag team, or maybe something like that, and then really heavily make the manager role.
But if you think about this, Kurt Hennig, when he first came to WWF at the time, he had one of the greatest mouthpieces in his corner, Bobby the Brain Heenan, building him to God level on his perfection,
Yes.
right? And Bobby's done that with guys who are way more, they've already been established. They've been champions all over the world.
Yes.
When he came out with the Fair to Flair thing, when Flair
Yeah.
migrated over, and he, so long WCW, hello Vince and all this, and he came in and he had the new haircut and Bobby put it out there like, look, you are going to follow Ric Flair once again. Why? Because he is that guy. You know, Bobby the Brain Heenan was one of the greatest minds as it pertained, well, the brain, as it pertained to how to put somebody out there, how to build them up without not diminishing what everything else was going on. But he would bring a Ric Flair in. You already know Ric Flair. You already know his accomplishments. He's done this, that, and the other all over the world. But right now, you're going to concentrate on what I'm saying about what he's going to do here. Captain Lou Albano.
Yes.
Captain Lou, who was a great wrestler back in the day, smash mouth, get in there and beat the hell out of you. When he was wrestling, then he come up as a manager, he had the same style.
What do you think? Sometimes it's better to take that old-time wrestler and turn him into a manager. I mean, if you think about it right now, we're talking about it, I don't think we're not hitting on it. They're doing that right now with Charlotte. They got Ric Flair to,
Yeah.
she got $1 million body, but she does look like her dad, y'all. You know that, right? But he's out there giving her that little, I guess, oomph you want to call
But
it.
see, I've always
'Cause he don't
agreed
like-
with that.
Okay.
Because you got guys
Look at Umaga, though.
I'm just saying, you
Umaga,
got
yeah,
guys who've been in the business 30, 40 years. Maybe they can't go the same way they could back in the day, right? But they can help these younger
The
guys
mouthpiece, yes.
learn how to be
Yes.
what they were.
The crowd.
Do you know, in my mind, the greatest transformation of that, going from performer to manager, in my eyes was, and impressive, was Harley Race. When Harley Race stepped up, took on Vader, took on Lex Luger, I mean, that was a small stable, but he made Luger look, not that Luger wasn't impressive, but he made Luger like, wow. And it was like Harley Race's stable, you know, and to have Luger and Vader.
And the big cat, had that big cat, Curtis Hughes.
Yes.
Was there for a while.
Yeah, Curtis Hughes was in there, right, and was he as Mr. Hughes?
Well, Mr. Hughes and Vader were
Right.
a tag team in early '92.
Right.
Yeah.
But to have him step up in there, you're like, wow, like here's someone who, if you were young enough, you're like, oh, well, that's King Harley Race, you know? And you think of that ladder stuff that happened in World Wrestling Federation, but I mean, Harley Race was a hell of a competitor and brought something to the game, you know?
Harley
as-
Race was one of the toughest guys to ever step through the
Right,
ropes.
if I was gonna have somebody manage me, I wouldn't mind having Harley Race behind me, you know what I mean?
But then you had other guys that had that natural mouthpiece. You're saying, see, one of my favorite guys was Slick. Slick can get over there.
God
and
soul
put,
bro.
he could put him over. I mean, as a mouth. I'm sorry, he just.
If you're out there, my
He just-
contact information is.
He just no, but he would get on the mic and just go.
Yeah.
Some guys, there's a lot of guys like they can just do that.
Slick,
And a lot of-
Teddy Long.
Teddy Long,
Teddy Long made a great transition
From a referee.
great.
to a manager, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's going to go with this? This Theodore R. Long thing?"
The peanut head.
But it was really great. I mean,
impressive.
it wasn't. I mean, he wasn't long lasting
No.
in that sense. I mean, because when they brought him in, they brought him in with Doom, and then they did the skyscraper.
No, the skyscrapers were first, then
Yeah,
Doom in '90.
yeah. But he, but he really was a very good transition. But then you have guys out there who are well-known managers, and once again, it may or may not be something that's disruptive to somebody else, but I personally was not a fan of Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart, to me, almost came off as a valet more than anything else, because he was less auditable than the people he was representing.
I see what you're saying, and I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, like, where Heenan talked for Andre, talked for Haku, you know, didn't have to, but talked for Rude.
Hart was more like a cheerleader.
Represented Flair, much like Paul Heyman represents Brock Lesnar.
But I mean,
You know what I mean? But like, Jimmy Hart was like, he was like running around the screen, and all of a sudden, the guy steps up that he's representing, and he actually can talk. You know, you got Bret Hart was able to speak on the
I
mic.
can speak on something.
You know what I mean?
And
You
Jimmy
know?
Hart was kind of like that. I guess you want to say baby doll. Might say a couple of words.
Yeah.
But still, he was great. I'm not being a prick about it. But yeah, but then we had people that crossed over later that was doing a little both when they gave him a chance. I remember doing shows and watching on TV. It was Luna Rashawn.
Yes.
If you gave her a mic, dude, oh my God, she'd just go. And it was like, it just flowed. And I had opportunities to meet her in person. Most knowledgeable, very knowledgeable individual, very nice. Even though at that show she's ready, I think,
Let's not.
we don't talk about that when she got beat everyone's ass in the back for not listening. It was
You
the
know
greatest
what?
thing I've ever seen.
And I love her.
I love her for
to
that.
death.
She straightened that locker room out in all of 5 minutes.
Wasn't even.
Wasn't even 5 minutes. Telling them, you got the guys walking around and think they don't stink. She made them stink, let's put it that way. But that's another story. But, I mean, we say, it all started, you have to admit, with the women as the valets.
Yes.
The women came
But
out.
see, you guys.
Miss Elizabeth, did she ever talk?
No.
All she did was, she may have talked.
She had a few moments, but.
Yeah, but she was there. You don't want to use it, and she's dead and gone, whatever. But she was a piece of ass.
Her
that walked out
character,
the way.
her character though, was more so like you felt bad for her.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You know, you felt bad for her in the early part of it, and then when you go to NWO Liz, who-
She was the opposite.
Yeah.
You wanted her to get her ass kicked.
man, was that woman attractive.
Well,
You know, but she still didn't do really much in that sense. Woman, Nancy Benoit, woman who wasn't terribly great on the mic.
No.
But did most of her career managing, starting with Kevin Sullivan and stuff like that. You know, she actually didn't do too bad. But if you're going to go to women root, and I know we're all going to say this.
Hold on. Don't say it. I'm telling Sherry Martell.
I was just about to
All right, that's
That's
all
what
I'm
I'm
saying.
Sensational,
That's sensational Sherry.
boy.
Well, get on the mic, tell you about yourself, and then smack you in your mouth if she could.
Great women's wrestler.
Because let's face
Great
it, when
women's
she was in the
wrestler.
ring, she was brutal.
Well, she
And
was-
I loved it. I loved every moment of it.
I ain't gonna
'Cause-
lie. I ain't gonna lie. You know, back she wasn't a looker. But man, she would dress up sometimes like, damn, I'm sure. Hey.
Yeah.
But she could smash you in
She
the
looked her
mouth.
best with Harlem Heat.
She could smash you dead in the mouth.
Yes.
And when she was talking, it was knowledgeable because she'd been there.
Exactly.
She was there.
But look how she evolved too. And this is what's great about Sherry is that when she was with Shawn Michaels, all right, he was
Man, I
the
almost
boy
forgot
toy.
about that.
So now you're looking at like this like milfish, I got my boy toy with me. That was kind of a cool concept, you know, which she was obviously older than him and stuff like that. And then
You know how hard that is though?
what?
Being a
To
boy toy?
be
I struggle with this all the time. But go ahead.
another show.
Yeah.
But then she moves on to Randy Savage and steps into that role where they took Liz out, freed Liz, and she took over. And madness took over. You want to talk about macho
Just
madness
went crazy.
between him and they had the same voice. It was weird. It was almost like he was a ventriloquist because she sometimes sounded like him and he sometimes sounded like her. But she was crazy. You know, when she started painting her face and she became
Oh, that's
Scary
crazy.
Sherry, you know, and you know, my wife to this day is like Scary Sherry was the best thing to ever happen in wrestling. And it is one of the true aspects.
That's the best thing that ever happened to you too.
Yeah.
Your
Scary
wife.
Sherry. Yeah, my wife.
Yeah.
Thank you, honey. Then, on top of that, now she's gonna watch that now. So, look at this guy.
Hey Dean, yeah, I
He
got
wants
you.
to-
I got you. Go ahead.
She wants dinner. So, but then you move her over, and then she does Harlem Heat. And man, did she gel with Harlem Heat. And
Well, she had Flair too. Before Harlem Heat, she was with Flair.
I didn't
Her,
like that
her and
as
Booker
much.
T going back and forth with some of
Yes.
the classic things. Because if you watch it, sometimes they're trying not to laugh.
Well, we all know
that's a
the
shame.
Booker T promo on Hogan.
Then we don't want to talk about
Right,
that.
which we won't talk
We
about.
can't talk
But
about that.
Sherry is cracking
She
up in
is-
the background.
She just, her whole face lit up, was like, oh my God. And had to turn her head. But like I said, it's a lot of managers that like now you want to call them managers, they're just trying to find something. for that
Who?
individual to do.
There's no managers now. I mean,
The last one-
name two.
Yeah, you're right. All we got now is Paul Heyman.
You got
Paul Heyman, who's
That's
the
it.
advocate.
Yeah.
They're not even labeling him as the manager.
But see,
Because what you
you're
get
dealing
now,
with
what you
right-
get now is you get a, because now what they try and do is they'll take a more prominent wrestler, give him a faction, and then make him the manager.
Right,
In
the
a sense.
mouthpiece, yeah.
You know, they did it with James Storm, with that failed gimmick of, what was it, I forget what it was.
Yeah, 'cause if you think about
Revolution
it-
or whatever they
No, if you
called
think
themselves,
about
yeah.
it, and I know LeGrande knows where I'm gonna go with this, Ron Simmons was supposed to be the leader of that, but The Rock took over because he was the mouthpiece, remember?
Yes.
He was supposed to be the leader of the Nation of Domination until The Rock started
And
talking.
it kind of made sense because we're going by like you're a ring general.
Yeah,
you know,
but-
yeah, exactly.
I mean, who is one of the greatest wrestlers to me ever? But The Rock just had that pizzazz about him. And you had to love him.
How could you not keep?
You couldn't, it's
Mike?
just-
But see, you guys are
And Ron
forgetting
Big
that we've got more than just the big companies to look at. Because we got a lot of guys on the indies who've been there, done that, and they have stepped in as manager roles and helped people along. For instance, like them, hate them, whatever you do, Cue Ball Carmichael.
Yeah.
Cue Ball Carmichael has
Cue Ball.
done it. He's been
Yeah.
there. He's
Yes.
tore ass all over the place.
Yeah, you're right.
And he came back and he's mentoring the young
younger
guys
guys.
coming up.
Yes.
And that's what you need. And he is doing exactly what we're saying that the business needs. He came in, look, this is what I've done. My resume is out there. Let me help you.
Then you had other guys, and I don't care, y'all can say whatever you want to say about him. Not because he's my friend, but he actually managed us for a while. Was Teron Hicks, Simply Bad.
Yeah.
You get bad to Mike, there was plenty of time, I had to turn my back. He would just start going off and then talk about what we did the night before. You don't know, but I'm like, well, you shut up. My wife might be watching. No, I'm joking. You know, he'd be like, just going nuts. Bad would get on the mic, blah, 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 blah. You're just like, man, shut up. Man, shut up. My partner, Record. Get the mic from him right now if I kick his ass. Because he would go on, had the crowd screaming. We were in the wrong spot at the wrong time one day. He's got the crowd going. I'm like, we about to get lynched. Man, shut up. You know, but that's what he did. He's been in the ring.
Yeah.
But you're right, like we had, in our day, we had Lucky Larry.
Oh, Larry.
Lucky Larry was, you didn't have to do nothing when Larry was with you. And I never won the minute.
Lucky Larry could put over a broken brick.
Yes. And you know what?
Legit.
This is something that's gonna hurt my
One
heart
of the greatest.
to say it. But we had Avilas, remember he was managing for a while? He was playing GWA. He was a hell of a manager. He knew what to say. You know, got on your nerves, telling you how to wrestle sometimes. But just so if you're watching Avilas. But he was excellent.
He knew.
He knew.
He knew how to draw it out of a crowd.
Yes.
He knew how to reach out and touch that one individual that was going to get the domino effect going to make it all gel. And that's what you need.
And well, you want to go to
You gotta
that
be able to read a crowd.
And he might not like this when he watches the show, but back when we were the CMB,
So good.
Reverend Ron Starr, who's Ron Starr now, we all know, you know, we talk about it here and there.
Yes.
He was the mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
He was more of a manager. He was doing both, but he was doing more, I would say, managing at the time.
Uh-huh.
Ron make a preacher curse, you know? You be in the ring, and he's another one start talking about stuff, you be like, no, he didn't say that, you know? But he was very good at it, you know? He's getting older now, maybe he will become a manager one day, hint, hint. But
Heavy hint.
heavy hit, no, you do what you do, baby. But you
Please
understand?
direct all comments to them. I have nothing
No,
to
but
do.
when we were doing that, he was in his prime though. But he took over that role as that. You know, he stepped back a little bit for a while and took that over. And he was really good at it.
One thing you gotta say, though, especially on the indies, especially when you have managers, because you gotta understand in the indies too, everybody's developing.
Yes.
Managers, the wrestlers, etc. What I noticed in, you know, I started off managing, I wrestled for a little bit, and then towards the latter end, you know, before medical conditions, I started managing again. And the one thing that I noticed though that was a make or break is it is a two-way street. Yes. It's a
They got a
two-way.
cure for gonorrhea, you all right?
This
Oh,
guy,
sorry.
see,
Oh.
see? It's a two-way street. Not only, because a lot of times, if you notice on the indie shows and stuff like that, you may or may not get paired with somebody, you know. I might have to manage this guy one day, you know, whatever the case is, for one show. I did.
Oh,
But the scenario is that there's a give and take between the performer and the manager to make that gel.
yes.
You know, you can have a great manager, but if that performer refuses to give up some of the spotlight, it's not gonna
It's
work.
not gonna work.
And if that manager refuses to give up some of that spotlight, it's not gonna work. I manage somebody, and I'm not gonna say names, and personally, I don't like the guy myself.
I will if you tell me.
I'll tell you later, because I'm not trying to get on the show.
Oh.
But I had to manage the guy, and to me, I felt, and I went to the promoter after, I said, listen, I felt like a valet more than a manager. And meanwhile, I was managing other people throughout the show. I said, so if I'm gonna do this again, I'm not gonna work with that guy again. And that wasn't me superstar, and that wasn't me, that was me saying, this product is not gonna look right, because now I'm out there
Yeah.
not doing my job.
Telling the
I'm
story.
trying to instruct. As
You're
a
out there telling
manager,
the story.
as a manager, I'm supposed to be leading that performer. I'm supposed to be looking out for his best interest. And if I'm constantly shouting something to him and nothing's being heard, and he's giving me orders the whole time, I'm no different than any other girl in a bikini coming out with them or anything like that. And it takes away from that.
Well, you
that
can say it
dynamic.
as stepping back. And right now, I'm drawing a blank, and you guys are gonna laugh, because you know I do this all the time. I start thinking ahead. The Four Horsemen.
Yes,
JJ Dillon?
J.J. Dillon.
yes.
You had nothing but stars. Okay? They knew when to step back and let J.J. do his thing. You know,
Exactly.
individually, every single one of them, well, the original four, Ole wasn't a talker. But you understand, they could work and let him step in, do what he had to do, Ric Flair and Tully Blanchard, but they knew when to come in. But they always, if you ever thought about it, if you think back to it, and they'd be like, yeah, JJ, what do you think? And that's how it was. Nowadays, you know, the manager role, it's just not there. You're just a hype man now. You know, before you kind of look like the manager, shoot the bull, you know, instruction, like you're saying stuff. Now you're pretty much, you're hyping the guy that just can't get over, you know? I hope he goes back to that one day, you know?
We still got a couple guys out there who are still holding on to that.
Yeah.
Like, when Dewey's out there doing his thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Do the do, man. He's out there and he's pushing it and pushing it. One guy that we all know personally, Lowy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lowy,
Yeah.
when he's on Point Wrestling, ACPW, whatever company he was working for.
Even he was
whatever-
CZW, remember?
CZW.
Yeah.
Lowy goes out there and he pushes his performance.
Yeah.
He goes, I am their manager, I am their mouthpiece, I am their father, I am everything. You go through me to get to them,
Yes.
and I will. And that's his deal.
Now,
He-
folks,
and
any
I
of the
still owe him
people,
a shirt
any of
for
the
that.
people, right?
Now
Any
if
of the
you're
people-
watching, call me, I'll get you.
Any of the people that we're talking about, by the way, because a lot of the guys we're talking about are on the indie circuit, and a lot of it's Philadelphia based and stuff like that. If you go on thatwaycoolwrestlingshow.com, we do have a section where we're showing videos and stuff like that. A lot of those videos are going to be up there, so you can actually see who we're talking about. I'm going to make sure of that as well, because these guys are unsung heroes
They're
that
wrestling,
are not
absolutely.
really being seen. Mark, let me go to you with some final thoughts
Sure.
on this.
I'll make 3 quick points. Number 1, it was said on a recent
You
WWE
say final
documentary.
thoughts, not 3, but go ahead, Mark.
I have 3 final thoughts. Hawk and Animal admitted on a WWE documentary that Paul Ellering was more than just a manager. He really managed their scheduling of rental cars, airfare. So Paul Ellering was a very big manager and a big influence on the Road Warriors. Harley Race, what made him great with me was his history with Flair. So when Vader and Flair had a program, you had that Flair Harley. You know, we
One
were
more time, right.
Right, one more
Yeah.
time in a different role. And number 3, we did this whole show without mentioning one time the best manager in ECW history, Sign Guy Dudley.
LeGrande, I'm going to go to you.
Somebody trying to get
Charles, I'm going to go to you.
Somebody sitting next to me.
Somebody trying to get a someone
one of us-
trying to get a booking around
I'm
here,
gonna-
but we ain't gonna talk
A
about it.
booking or a phone book? Because one of us.
You know
Final
what?
thoughts on that?
I got no
I'm done.
problem with Sign Guy Dudley. He was a great guy.
Yes, he was. Yeah, we're just joking.
You got Hat Guy who's out there doing it now. He's out there
Yeah,
with
he's
his
good.
young guys trying to put them through and help
Yeah.
them grow. I can't specifically name anybody in a final thought because I got a bunch of guys on my mind that I think that are still holding true to our business and this tradition that helps them get the guys over. All I can do is say, I salute you if you're out there doing what you're supposed to do and helping the business stay a great place to be.
Charles?
I think my final thoughts on that, like, I agree with LeGrande. There's a lot of guys out there. We always say a wrestling family. Stay true to that. And the guys that are out there helping these guys, especially the veterans. Like, a lot of these guys now, they just don't understand what they're learning. You as a manager can talk to them and teach them. Try to help them move along. Sooner or later, they're gonna act like they don't need you, but you know how that's just the business. So, I mean, just everyone out there who watches, all the guys in the ring, managers, wrestlers, valets, whatever you want to do, just do what we do because we love to do it. That's all. We just love to do it.
And my final thought, which I think is very poignant, is we have discussed many times where we said the problem with today's product is that it's still in development.
Yes.
We're seeing a lot more of the rookie side of the people here. We're not seeing that everybody has been doing this for years, like it used to be back in the day. And if I say, if there was ever a time when a manager was needed, it would be now, because I think half the problem that we see now are guys that really need a manager, that are trying to project themselves on their own based on the persona they have. And that manager would be so crucial in this point to put them over, and I think we would see a change in the product.
Yeah, so Roman Reigns, if you're watching, you need a manager.
Perhaps somebody. My contact information is now.
No, he got a lot of great people in his family that he can lay a phone call to, that the door is still open for,
Yeah.
that one we, as being who we are, we would like to see it because we would love to see them again.
Right.
And two, a lot of these younger kids need to see some of this wrestling history.
I personally would love to see, and it's for another show, but I would love to see a Samoan faction come back. With some sort of a dynasty type of scenario, but with all the Samoans, bring off in there, do something. I don't know if they're ever gonna do it, but.
I feel like 70 years old, he ain't come do that.
We don't know. They had Freddie Blassie out there with a wheelchair.
And you know, we didn't even mention him. You know that.
Freddie Blassie.
Oh my gosh.
Love you,
one of the
Freddie,
greats.
yes,
Love
he's
you.
great.
Yeah, and the Lord. Love him
Love
to death.
him. Miss
Listen,
you.
guys, we gotta go. Once again, check us out on Facebook, That Way Cool Wrestling Show. ThatWayCoolWrestlingShow.com. We'll get all those videos up there. Until next time, for Charles, LeGrande, and Mark, my name is AJ. We'll see you after that. Goodbye, everybody.